I'm Tammy Van Dunge, your host for Executive with a Cause. Today on the show, I welcome Ricki Hersburgh, the Executive Director of Plastic Oceans Australasia. Today, we're going to chat about the good, bad, and hard things about running a charity. Ricki, welcome to the show.
Hello, Tammy. Thank you so much for having me on today. I really appreciate it.
I don't know if you're aware, but your cause is actually very dear to my heart. I've always had this thing about plastic in waterways, and as a paddler, that is especially something that drives me crazy. So I have a huge heart for the work that you do.
Well, there's a lot of work to be done, so hopefully I can help you with some tips and tricks and some more information to maybe help you so that when you are out paddling, you've got some ideas and some quick grabs of what you can do to make it better.
That would be great, and we'll also learn about how to run a charity. So tell us more about Plastic Oceans Australasia.
Sure. Well, we started in 2017, August. 5 years ago, and we're coming up to our 5th anniversary, which is super exciting. And of course, I never realised or knew, none of us didn't have the crystal ball, that 2 of the 5 years were going to be in pretty much lockdown, because our head office is based in Melbourne, Australia. And we've got the fame to claim now of being the lockdown city of not just of Australia, but of the world, because of all the time we've been in lockdown. So running a fairly new charity through that time was quite interesting, and maybe I'll come back to that in just a moment. But we started, I was appointed to take up the role here in Australasia from the Plastic Oceans founder, Joanne Ruxton, who's based in the UK. So Jo and I met many years ago when she was working in Hong Kong on a project, and I was based in Hong Kong for 8 years working in another organisation. And I actually reached out to Jo for a project that I wanted to do, which was about healthy oceans and education in schools. And that was how we got together, and we were colleagues, friends ever since, and then now working together again. So the Plastic Oceans Foundation has offices in different parts of the world. The alliance that we have, I work very, very closely with the Plastic Oceans UK, which is now called Ocean Generation. So they recently pivoted over and changed their name to Ocean Generation. But for us, it's our mothership, and we still work really, really closely. So our global alliance is with the UK Plastic Oceans there, which is Ocean Generation. They also have an office in Spain, and us here in Australasia. So our reach here is obviously Australia, New Zealand, the islands, a little bit of a grey zone. Like we get inquiries from India and Korea and other areas as well, but it pretty much, our focus is in this area of the world. So it started really through me being appointed to take up the role, and I was given the baton, and Jo basically said, Ricki, off you go. It's a clean slate. We'd like you to set it up. You're the best person in the location that we think can do it. And off I went. So the first year was pretty quiet because we were getting things organised. It was me, myself and I needed to get a board. I needed to get all the paperwork done with ACNC, all the legislation. Setting up a charity is complicated. There's a lot of hurdles and hoops and jumps, and you need a good lawyer, you need a good accountant. You really do need to know what you're doing to get it squeaky clean before you even do anything. So the first year was pretty much all about that, which wasn't very exciting. And I was super eager to get a lot done, because the movie A Plastic Ocean is part of our toolkit and our remit. And that was what Joanne Ruxton, apart from being the founder of the movement for Plastic Oceans globally, she also is the producer of that very famous film, which I think you might have seen it. Most people have.
Yeah, no, I saw it I think the National Archives was showing it here in Canberra. Fantastic show that just really highlighted the problem. With Plastic Oceans Australasia, it sounds like your mission is really obvious, but for those that are not familiar with what your mission is, can you just talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. And our mission and our vision is to change the world's attitude towards plastic use, particularly single-use plastic, within a generation. That is our mantra. That is what we do. And we do that through behaviour change programs. So we do a lot of education, business sustainability unit that we have as well, that we talk to businesses and corporates about their businesses, what they can do, life cycle assessments, carbon accounting, supply chain, circular economy, all those buzzwords everyone's using now, but we've actually been doing it for quite a long time.
Mm.
So we have three streams: the education arm, the business sustainability arm, and then everything that we actually do in those two components is underpinned through our science and research projects. So we're quite unique in that we're kind of like a one-stop shop. I really hate using these corny statements, but everybody knows what I mean. You can come to us and we can actually pivot to the different areas that we need to do. So we are very much about facts, not about fiction. So we're not actually storytellers. We tell the stories from the facts, but we're not going to ever say, based on the assumptions that XYZ has been flagged by somebody 5 years ago, that now has become a fact. And I'll give you an example of this. There is a statement out there that now the media loved it and grabbed onto it, which was basically by 2050, there'll be more plastic in the ocean than fish.
Yep.
Now, I'm sure you've heard that. Everyone has heard it. It was the best media plug ever. But actually, it's not actually based on fact. It was an assumption that was made on calculations of what is happening then. And if we keep going at the rate we are, that was an assumption that was made. So somebody made that statement. And then that's now people are saying, well, that must be true. That's what's going to happen. So that's just an example that we're very much about. It has to be a real verified fact for us in what we do. So we're very, very careful about the work that we do and what we use as the baseline for what we deliver for our education programs. So our scientific research projects here in Australia, we've got 3 on the go at the moment, and there's a lot of information on our website about that. But we also get global intel, obviously, through our association, our work with Plastic Oceans UK, Ocean Generation, and there's a lot of science and research. And there's a 64-page document about the science behind the film, for example. If people, when the film first came out, everybody wanted to know where we were getting all this information from. But that's also available. So that's the 3 areas. So our work is, number 1, behaviour change. How do we get behaviour change? By actually delivering really targeted, useful projects that can be taken up in an extended or abridged version, depending on what a school, community group, the business, government entity, pretty much everybody, what they can do to change their behaviour. But we then underpin that with actual hard data that we get at the end of their program. We can actually show them what they've reduced. So War on Waste came out after our movie. And as you know, things skyrocketed. And finally, the whole story and issues about plastic came to the forefront. And for me, I was glad that had finally happened, because I've been living the plastic waste story my whole life. So to finally have that happen, and we've got a plethora of films out there now, as you know, it's been really good that we were sort of the first feature-length film that came out to really raise it to the profile. So I hope that helps answer your question a little bit more.
Yeah, it does. I want to dive into the research piece a little bit, because data, I heard someone the other day say that data is like the new version of oil. In terms of that there might be a bunch of it hiding someplace, but you have to know how to extract it and to manipulate it so that it's actually usable. How are you, first of all, collecting data? And then how are you using it for your research?
Fantastic question. And it's funny that you use the example about oil, because one of the things I often do with presentations that myself and the team give, I have a jar that I hold up and show people what crude oil looks like. And I show them that, and because a lot of people don't actually understand how that oil becomes plastic.
Oh, yeah.
So we actually talk about that plastic journey and share with people how it comes about. So it's a really fantastic question. We have a technical advisory panel. So under our science research stream of work, we appointed a esteemed group of people that are made up of scientists, experts in their field, professors, lecturers from university, that are actually the advisory board as such. So we have that panel that came in, and we're working on 3 projects that we have identified that we know that there isn't research data out there at the moment, particularly in the Australasian region, that is verifying what we all believe, but we don't know the answers to. So we said, right, let's go and actually get those answers by doing a research piece. So what we've actually done is set up this panel. Again, as I said, you can have a look and see the people on our website that are there from, as I said, from scientists. We've got, a professor from Macquarie University in New South Wales, James Cook University in Queensland, UTS, the list goes on. But it's a really eclectic mix of people that help us with the research. So we have a very structured format of how we collect the data. Some of the data is collected through the actual lab work itself. Like at the moment, we're doing a fish research project of looking at microplastics in commercially eaten fish in Sydney Harbour. Now that's been done through Macquarie University. So that's obviously a data actual in the lab, what we're doing project, and the paper will come out on that, we hope, very soon. Then we've got another one which is actually about the behaviour change and measuring and doing surveys and stats with businesses about what actually goes on in people's minds and what will it take to actually make that change, not just assumptions. And then we have another one which is very relevant. It's about the PPE. So since COVID started, the increase in PPE obviously has dramatically increased across the globe. 15,000-fold to what it was. So we're actually doing some data research about the increase and what's happening, not just with the doctor's surgery, but all the way up through to the hospitals and any health providers. So that's the way that we run the science research part of it. And then the results that we get from that hard data, we then are going to be giving to people in the public so everybody can read it.
Okay. All right. So this is the how-to podcast. And would you mind if I ask some how-to questions?
Sure.
The technical advisor panel, are they volunteers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they are. They're volunteers.
And how did you recruit them? Because so many charities need these types of people on their team, and yet they're in demand. So how did you recruit them to come join you on this?
I guess we offered them an opportunity to do something that isn't being done yet. And there's no place yet that's offering that, whether it's been their workplace or somewhere else. So we actually we've handpicked people that we've gone to, and we have said to them, we can see that you're an expert in XYZ. We'd like to invite you to come onto our team because we're going to be working on these various projects, and we think it's something that would resonate with you, would help embellish and expand their career as well, because they're working on something that they might normally get to do. And also they're getting to meet with a network of people that from that there's all sorts of wonderful things that will come out of it for them as well. And also we went to people that we felt had a passion and an interest in what we're doing. So, it's basically matching what you think a person is interested in. So it's kind of like, a puzzle, finding the right piece of the puzzle that's going to fit, and looking at the people out there and checking them out and having a look and seeing if they're already on 10 boards, they have got no time. There is no chance I'm even going to go to them. So everything I do, one of my nicknames from a very young age was Ricki the Private Investigator. So I think it's about I just say to people, research. Find your facts, fact check, work out what do you think is the hot button for that person, because clearly for them to come on board, even now when we are so cluttered and everyone is working harder than ever before, I don't know whether we're producing and delivering more, but we certainly seem to all be working very hard. And I know in Australia we seem to work very, very long hours compared to some other countries. I know there's some really interesting data out about that, but to get people that want to give an extra couple of hours a month or 4 hours or 5 hours or whatever it might end up being, it's got to be something they really want to do. So that's how we brought them on. And the majority of our organisation is run by volunteers.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's only a handful of us that are actually paid.
Okay. So how many staff members do you have right now?
So we have 8 paid staff members, and all the rest are volunteers. So our board of management is made up of volunteers. Our technical advisory panel is volunteers. We have student interns. So we're very, very keen and super enthusiastic to bring on students that are doing anything from their, postdoctorate to might just be straight out of uni where they need to get some experience, or they need to do the work. Or we've got a PhD student, for example, that's with us for 3 years. And then the rest are volunteers that just have time that they might be interested in a particular area. So
Mm.
again, it's matching what we think a person wants to do. And I always say to people, we want you to get more coming into our organisation than we do. And we want you to go out of our organisation really having grown and developed as a person.
Yeah.
And that's for us the number one thing, because if we didn't have that, why would they do it?
Right,
We want them
right.
to go away and take some tools away, because even though they are volunteering, what's in it for them? It's always the what, WOT. I always say that, what's in it for people? What are they going to get out of it? Because otherwise they're not even going to stay with us. If they come in and say, well, I don't really like this, it's not what I wanted. So we spend a lot of time interviewing, giving people lots of time to get to know us and, find out if it's what they want.
Well, I think every organization has a similar issue with volunteers because their paychecks are not obvious, right? And they're all different. Whatever,
That's right.
each volunteer
That's right.
has a different kind of paycheck. It's just not monetary. When we go back to the data piece, some of these things are quite data heavy, like the microplastic piece. Are you relying on the volunteer and their university resources to be able to?
No, that's paid. That's a paid. So we're collaborating with Macquarie University, and the people in the lab and the professor. That's all paid. That's not a
Okay.
volunteer role.
Yeah.
The people that are sitting on the TAP team are volunteers, but the actual project is very, very structured, formalised, and has to go through some rigor and careful monitoring and reporting that is done through the university.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense to me. And then behavioral changes. I know you're doing a lot of education programs, as you just spoke about. Is that where you're getting the stats for that particular part of your research?
Yes. So the more companies we go out to and the more organisations that we work with, the more data we're gathering anyway. We automatically, because we do surveys, audits. We do a very comprehensive 12-month program with each organisation that we partner with, whether it be a surf lifesaving club to, one of the big four banks. It doesn't really matter. But what's really interesting, and I always say this even to my team, I say, we are all humans. We are humans doing sometimes rather than humans being, but everybody is different. Even though we are the Homo sapien, that's our species. We all do think differently. So we might, we look like we all look like a person, but we all think differently. So every single person that we get research information from, it all goes into what I call into a big bucket of information. And then we have researchers behind the scenes that are working on that, doing data analytics, working it out, and we have it split into categories. We basically follow what the ABS is doing.
Yeah, okay.
So the Australian Bureau of Statistics, and they just had the census report that came out this week, and how valuable that census data is that we do only every 5 years. So we're kind of a bit like that. We follow that structure. We don't try and reinvent the wheel. We're too small to reinvent the wheel. We're working with what is there and how can we extend on that and embellish that. And we're finding that the data that we're gathering is not clearly available in other areas. So that's why we know we're onto something that is important. There's no point us doing something that another NGO or another organisations doing, because they've already done that. We want to help provide more information so we can help make change, so we can help stop plastic from going into the ocean. Yeah. So our mantra is, as I said in the beginning, to change people's behaviour. And it's not just about the ocean. The ocean is once it's gone into the ocean, we've failed. Yeah. It's about stopping it. It's stopping it before it goes down the drain pipe at someone's house and goes into the creeks and the rivers and the waterways and then goes into the ocean. And, so that's it. That's why I've got to go up that chain to the very big top of what happens when you close your front door, when you go to work or when you go home, or wherever you are. So that's why we spend quite a bit of time doing that behind the scenes, but people wouldn't know that by reading the title, Plastic Oceans Australasia. Well, what do you do? Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah. Well, what
it's
do you do?
Way deeper.
What do you do with the data? Like, what kind of technology are you using to help you? There's a lot of organizations out there that are rich in data, but are lacking information from it. Like, they can't make decisions. The information is hiding. Where do you store data? What kind of technology do you use to help you with that?
Look, we're pretty straightforward with it. I have got a couple of data analysts that are experts in that. And we just use pretty straightforward spreadsheets, Excel
Okay.
spreadsheets.
Okay.
So for example, it's not, you don't have to be, have $1 million technology to collect it, but how we do it, and become more automated with it as the numbers increase,
Yeah.
that's something we're working on already. So when you're small and you've got, say, less than 1 million people's results, we're managing. But if we go to a much bigger level and go much wider with it to other countries like Indonesia and Philippines, and like, we're small, we've only got a very small population. So our data at the moment is only on what we've been doing in Australia and a little bit in New Zealand. But this data rich amount, we are looking at how will we scale that up to become more automated with the results. And we get a lot of help from some of the people that we've got that are working with us as research data analytical gurus, I call them. They're amazing with what they do and how they do the calculations and the formulas. And we get assistance from sustainability consultancy firms that are experts in that. They do the life cycle assessments, they do the carbon accounting. So wherever we don't have the technical expertise or the equipment to support that, we reach out to others that do that, and that's their bread and butter. And we say to them, could you help us? Could you help us? We don't know how to fill this little gap. How could we do that? So we collaborate. It's all about collaborating. We're not on a solo journey. We've taken 70 years to get the mess that we've got in the ocean. It's not going to disappear overnight. And we need the power of the people to do that. So people, place, purpose, and then obviously people always like to say, well, at the end of it, I'm making a profit. We don't even talk about profit. For us, it's about getting those three things right.
Yeah.
The people in the right place at the right time, with the purpose in mind. So I always say to everybody, never lose the purpose of why we are here. And my goal, my dream, is that I'm not here in 5 years. I don't want to be doing this. I don't want to have this problem. I don't want Plastic Oceans Australasia to be doing what we're doing. Wouldn't it be great if we didn't need to have this problem?
Yeah, look, I think every not-for-profit is trying to get themselves out of a job. It's just hard. It's hard. We all know it's hard. So question for you, like we talk about purpose, we talk about the objective, but at the end of the day, it has to be a sustainable model too. So where do you currently get your funding from?
Oh, very traditional, normal NGO. So we get donations online. People just want to give us money that, saw it, liked us, heard about us. So they'll just give us a donation. They get a, tax deductible receipt. We put in for grants. The grants could be for private funds. The grants could be with government entities. The grants can be sometimes just other organisations that have got some foundations that they've got some funding that might suit what we are about and what we're doing, and they may like that and it works. We do fee for service. So we do do a charge out rate because we have education facilitators that go out and do delivery of programs. So we need to charge a fee for that. I think that, and sponsorship, of course, corporate sponsorship. Yeah, those four things. The four obvious ones are pretty much, I think, every charity does the same.
Most of them do. I'm also thinking about from the collaboration perspective. We actually, I did interview Clean Up Australia not too long ago, and I know they have a lot of data as well. And I'm wondering, do you guys ever, maybe not with Clean Up Australia, but do you actually do collaborations with other similar organizations like Plastic Free July, or maybe it is Clean Up Australia?
Oh, look, absolutely. We are super keen always to collaborate with other organisations. As I was saying earlier on, it's all about working together because we can't do this alone. Each of the similar organisations to us, it's interesting, we all have our little sort of what I call unique things that we offer.
Yeah.
And there's some things that one might do better than the other, or there might be a part that we do that the other one doesn't do at all. So I'm always looking at how we can work together to bring that together. So, for example, we were doing some work with CVA, Conservation Volunteers Australia, where we did a collaboration with them for they had a national activation day. I think it was in April. I'm trying to remember because there's so many activities and things that we've been involved with. And and we work with them up and down the East Coast. So we had one of our representatives in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, working with them to help embellish what they were doing on that day. So we don't do beach cleanups. We're not a beach cleanup organisation. And there's some others out there that do it brilliantly. Like, it's awesome. And we'll say, go to them, because that's what they do. We don't actually do that. We're never going to get into that space. Yeah. The reason being is that we don't need to. There's already lots of people doing that. So why do you need another one to confuse people even more about, oh, where do I go to do my beach cleanup? You know, so, but the data and what they're doing at the beach cleanup is really helpful for us as well to know about what they're doing. So that's a really, you know, a classic example of that. We're more about advocacy, policy, about that next couple of levels up.
Ricki, what can our listeners do to support your work?
Fantastic. I'm glad you asked me. We are coming up to one of our biggest campaigns for the year. We only do one campaign a year, and it's called Picnics Unwrapped, and it runs in September from the 1st to the 30th. We would love anybody out there, that everybody loves having a picnic, either to host a picnic or invite your friends to have a picnic and family. Take a photo of your picnic, post your picnic photo to us, and we've got a fantastic, amazing number of prizes for the best picnic in the most unique location, picnic with, you know, at school, a picnic at your business. And those pictures can go towards a competition that we're running, which is a film competition called Oceans in Motion. And that film competition is open to primary school, secondary school, university, and anybody that's a boating enthusiast. So the photo can go into your film competition. So it's kind of like a double whammy. And both of those events that I've mentioned to you are on standalone separate websites. Okay. So picnicsunwrapped.org.au. Go there, and we're opening that up, and it'll be up and running again for this year with all the amazing things that we're doing. And it's also with our counterpart in the UK, Ocean Generation. So it's gone global. And Oceans in Motion Film Competition, that is running and open right through till the end of the year. So any school that wants to enter, and it's basically the kids doing a journey of what they're doing to try and reduce plastic at their school. And it's just 5 minutes or less. It's very, very, just with your iPhone, you don't have to do anything fancy. And that's got also the most amazing prizes for the kids to try and encourage them to make change. So those two things, number one, would be absolutely brilliant if people wanted to go to those websites, or you can find it through our regular website, plasticoceans.org.au. And the other thing also is anybody that is an educator, or anybody that has a story, or anybody that really would like to connect and work with us as a volunteer or otherwise, we would love to hear from them, because everybody can help just one little thing at a time. We would love to hear from them.
Great. And what's your normal website address?
So it's www.plasticoceans.org.au.
Okay. Well, make sure we get all those onto the show notes for this episode. I think, I love the idea of getting kids involved with these opportunities, especially using film. It's such a great medium for kids, and especially since everybody has a phone these days. It seems like even 5-year-olds do these. So if they can pull out their phone and do something good with it and reduce plastic waste at the same time, I love that.
Fantastic. Well, we'll invite you to a picnic.
Yeah, I love that too.
Who doesn't love a picnic? Anyway, but yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for us being able to put that out there to people. But if everybody just wants to do something, have a picnic during the month of September, that would be amazing. And you have to register and enter. It's all free, but you do need to register so you can post your picture up there and be in the running for a fabulous prize.
Excellent. Ricki, it's been great to talk to you, and also about a subject that I care deeply about. Thank you for the work that you and your team do. I think that, maybe the 2050 notion that there's going to be more plastic in the ocean than fish is not quite true. But if it's anywhere close to that number, I think most of us are horrified to think that could be the case. So thank you for the work that you're doing, and really hope that our listeners can help you support the work and also just reduce our own plastic consumption.
And thank you for the opportunity. And I just want to finish with one thing, just to say to the listeners, if everybody every day just does one little thing, just changes one thing, keep it really simple, that will help as well. That will help our planet and the situation. Just stick to one thing that is easy for you to do, and that would be amazing.
Thank you for that.
Okay. Cheers.
Cheers. Hi, this is Tammy again. When I'm not doing podcast, I'm helping not-for-profits with IT decisions. The question for this week's IT in Plain English segment is, what is single sign-on? Single sign-on, or SSO as it's often called, is a technology that allows a user to be verified on multiple applications using the same username and password. You would have experienced this personally if you've ever been asked to set up or sign into a website by signing into your Facebook, Apple, or Google account. Some examples are websites like Spotify or Etsy. The benefits of single sign-on are that you have fewer passwords to manage, and therefore it's easier and more secure for the user. For a not-for-profit using Microsoft, your single sign-on will likely be controlled through Microsoft Azure. And for cloud-based applications in particular, it's actually a very easy process to turn this on for staff, so you don't have to individually log in to every application that they use every day. If you don't already use single sign-on in your organization, talk to your IT manager or outsource provider. Not only will it make it easier for your staff, but it'll actually make your IT environment more secure too. So there you have it, in plain English. If you have an IT question you want answered, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and send me a message. I just might answer it on this show. And if you like what you've heard, please subscribe and leave me a review. To all of you executives with a cause, the world is definitely a better place because of you. Thank you for what you and your teams do every day.